Making a game is so damn difficult, especially if you're a solo game developer. There are a lot of different skills you have to learn, everything takes forever to do, and it's so easy to lose motivation and just start procrastinating. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 mental frameworks that I use as a solo game developer to make working on your game a little bit easier. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, hi there! I am Gael. I am a solo indie game developer and I'm working on my dream horror game called Silent Corruption. It's a survival horror game that focuses on creative and immersive experience. It blends the tension of the 90s classics like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, but I'm mixing it with some modern gameplay to refresh the genre a little bit. After finishing my last job, where I worked in both Path of the Teal Lotus as a Unity programmer, and after almost a year of looking for a new job without success at all, you know how bad the game industry is right now, I decided, you know what, screw it. I'm going to work on my own game. Because I could be spending all this time refining my portfolio, refining my CV. If I get lucky, get hired by a random company and then get sacked out of nowhere, well, I'm going to spend all that time working on my project, which is something I really wanted to do anyways. And here I am. The average indie game developer needs to learn a lot of skills on very different disciplines like coding, art, writing, marketing, music, you name it. Each and every one of these disciplines can take a lifetime to master, and most of the time we have to do everything on our own or with very limited help. On top of that, if you're a programmer, you're going to struggle with making art. If you're an artist, you're going to struggle with making code. So we're always going to have an area where we struggle. For example, I struggle a lot with making music and audio. So how can you make a game when there's so many things you need to be good at? So when I started learning how to make games, the first things I learned were how to use Unity and how to code. And I looked for some tutorials to learn programming, and I did a few videos and I found coding kind of hard and something that I didn't really enjoy that much. So then I decided that I wanted to try and learn how to do art instead, because I was really curious and learning how 3D work and how to do 3D models. At the time, of course, I didn't know anything about that. So I started to use Blender and I did some props, some very basic models, and eventually I started to also do some characters. And I realized that I really like doing characters. It was really fun for me. And yeah, while I was having a lot of fun learning 3D, I had some ideas of games I wanted to make in the back of my mind. But because I was put off by learning how to code, I wasn't really making progress on any of my game ideas. So I realized that if I really wanted to make a game, I also needed to learn how to code properly, at least on a basic level. So I put making art to the side a little bit and started to learn how to program in Unity, and I did a few tutorials and I started to have fun with programming. And nowadays is actually something that I really enjoy doing. And learning how to code actually led me to land a job as a Unity programmer, as I said before. So yeah, that was really unexpected. So even if you struggle with something while making your game, if you put the time and practice, eventually it's gonna get easier. And maybe even you're gonna find that you enjoy doing it. Because if you think about it, if you're an artist, how did you get good at making art? Because you spend time on it and you kept practicing it. Or if you're a programmer, it's gonna be the same. Any other discipline that you're good at is because you spend time on it and eventually you got good at it. So it's gonna be the same for any other skill that you're struggling with right now. You just have to practice it and eventually it will get easier. But most of us don't fail because we don't know how to code or we don't know how to make art. It's usually because we don't have enough time to work on a game, or we procrastinate a lot, or maybe we bounce between projects. And this constant procrastination and bouncing between things eventually leads you to burnout. You get to a state where you're like, "Ah, I don't want to do this anymore." So, how do you actually finish a game when you have all these distractions that are sabotaging you at every turn? Well, I definitely used to suffer from this. I will have so many game ideas and I will bounce from one to another just thinking, maybe this game idea is too difficult for me at the moment and I need to do something easier. So I'm going to stop this game that I'm doing right now and I'm going to start this other project that's a bit easier. But then that project will grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And I will get overwhelmed by it because it was too big. And yeah, just I will stop doing it. And this went on for years and years. And not focusing on one single thing, I would end up so burnout now that I would quit. So I was never really making real progress on any of my projects. And that was so discouraging. It made me feel like I was a loser, basically. And I realize now that I was doing that because at the time my environment was kind of chaotic, and personally, I wasn't feeling that great. My mental health wasn't that good, so I wasn't really in a headspace where I could really focus and concentrate on working on something so difficult as a video game. And also, starting new projects was also because I needed that dopamine rush and that feeling of, I'm starting something new, something interesting is happening in my life. And the only thing that helped with this was creating a schedule that worked for me. Right now, I have the evenings where I have 3 or 4 hours where I know I can focus on working on my game. And I use this time to really focus on what I'm doing. And I only use this time to work on my game. The rest of the day, I'm doing something else. I'm either working on my part time job, playing video games, or hanging out with my partner. And having this limited time slot has me really concentrate because I know I only have that amount of time. You need to find those moments of your day, even if it's just half an hour every day, where you can focus the most and work on your game during that time only, and have the rest of the day to do anything else you need to do. Even if it's procrastinating, playing video games, you can do anything else you want because you know you're gonna have that time to work on your game. So basically, you need to create a schedule that works around you, around how your brain works, that leaves room for when you need to procrastinate or you need to rest because you're feeling tired. And having that specific time where you're only working in this one thing, it's gonna help you make progress on your game, and it's gonna help a lot with staying motivated and keep working. Sometimes game dev is too hard because we force ourselves to work on things we don't really want to do because we think is what we should be doing. And when you keep working on something that you think you should be doing, but it's not really what you want to do, you eventually are going to burn out. You're going to resent the project, and eventually you're probably gonna quit. So, how do you actually stay motivated and finish your game when you feel like what you want to do is not what you should be doing? Right now in my game, I'm working on the inventory system, and I knew from the beginning that I wanted to do a grid inventory similar to Resident Evil 4 or Diablo, because I feel like this is an inventory that plays very well with the immersion aspect of my game, because it feels like you're actually putting things on your backpack. But the problem was I couldn't find proper resources to learn how to do this because it's a type of inventory that I have never done before. And all the tutorials or websites I was finding about how to do this type of inventory in Unity were either outdated or incomplete or just difficult to follow. I even bought an asset in the Unity asset store, and while the asset is actually quite good, the documentation was really bad and I didn't really understand how to use it, so I ended up scrapping that. And I got really frustrated because I couldn't find any way on how to do it. All the tutorials I was following, they weren't working because they were outdated and there were things that were different or just simply didn't work. And it was so frustrating because I really didn't know how to do this. So I thought of maybe ditching this great inventory and trying to do something simple. So I started to prototype a simple inventory with just like simple slots. And I managed to do this and it was okay, but I realized that this was kind of boring. It wasn't really what I wanted to have in my game. So I went back to try to go through all these incomplete, outdated tutorials and resources. And I try again to try to understand how this type of inventory work. And eventually I got it working, and the base code is like 80% there and it's doing what I want. So I'm so happy for that. So yeah, don't settle on doing something on your game just because it's easier or it's more practical if it's not really what you want to do. Because even if it takes longer and even if it's a pain in the ass, if it's something that you really want to include in your game, you should do it. Because that also is going to help you stay more motivated to keep working on your game. Because it's going to feel a lot more that it's your game. So yeah, there are a lot of factors that can make working on your game difficult, like for example, imposter syndrome or burnout. And as a game developer, you're going to face all these challenges a lot of times. And there are gonna be many, many times when you're going to want to quit your game. Maybe you even felt like this already. So in those moments when you feel low and lost, it's so important to have someone to help you through all those feelings. That's why I highly recommend that you go watch this next video where I talk about burnout and how to avoid it. So click here to go watch that. See you there. Bye.